Back in 2019, so about 4 years ago, I won a free trip to Africa. And it's actually a pretty crazy story on how I won that trip. So in today's video, I'm gonna tell you exactly how I got to that point and how my experience was going to Africa. It's an amazing story, and hopefully you have a cup of coffee to enjoy it. So let's go ahead and get started. Back in 2019, I was still working my corporate job here in California. So I had been working my corporate job for over 10 years. But on the sidelines, I was working on rebuilding my family's coffee farm. And this was before I had quit my job and moved to Nicaragua. So I was still getting my feet wet and getting used to what it is to be in the coffee business. But nonetheless, I was working with this company out in Oregon called Atlas. So they're a coffee importer. So they import coffee into the United States. What I was trying to do was import a small batch of coffee here in California so I could sell it. So I was going back and forth with a person from Atlas sending emails. And in one of those email threads that he sent, at the bottom of his signature, it said, "Do not miss the 2019 Boston Coffee Expo." Now, the Coffee Expo, it's a huge exposition about coffee. Everything you see from packaging, farmers, roasters, aficionados, whatever you want, this expo has everything about coffee, and it happens once a year, and it's massive here in the US. So I clicked on the link, and on the link there, it said that this company that I was working with, which was Atlas, was giving away a free trip of any country of origin, meaning any country that produces coffee, if you participated in this event, event where you had to go around, get some stamps, meet some people. So sort of a journey that you had to do while you were at the Coffee Expo. So I clicked on the link, I read about it, and I was sitting at my desk and I thought to myself, wow, it would be amazing if I just booked this trip right now and I went and I won this thing. That would be so freaking cool. So without second thoughts, I went ahead and I bought a ticket to Boston that same day. So that same day after work, I got on the plane. I asked for 2 days off and I went to Boston. It was my first time at any conference like this, and I learned a lot. I did the event. I participated on finding some roasters, going to some classes, some lectures, and getting some stamps. They called it a passport. You had to stamp your passport here in this event and then submit it. So I was in Boston for 2 days, and I was getting these events done and stamped. And I submitted my passport, my Atlas passport, to them, and then I left Boston. There's a lot of people at Boston that were also in that same competition, so I didn't think I was gonna win. I mean, it was just like saturated. But to my surprise, 4 to 6 days later, I got a message on Instagram, and they posted it saying that I had actually won the trip. So out of everything that I did, having this mind of mine think, oh yeah, we can go ahead and go win it, I ended up actually winning in real life. So it was a crazy experience. It's still beautiful. Here you can see on Instagram the post, and I have an Alchemist book with me, and I was drinking some whiskey, and my passport was on the picture while I submitted my ticket into this whole event, and I got notified that I won. So once I found out I won, I was super excited, and I could pick any country of origin that they offered. So they're like, okay, you won this free trip. Where do you want to go? Do you want to go to Panama, Colombia, Brazil, Guatemala, San Salvador, Nicaragua, or Africa? And in my mind, I thought, wow, those are all pretty cool countries, but you can't beat Africa. I mean, it's the motherland. That is where coffee originates from. So what happens is I ended up picking Africa. I said, okay, I'll go and let's go visit Africa. Little did I know it was going to be one of the best experiences of my life. Let me tell you that the energy in Africa is just way different. The trip was a 2-week trip. We landed in Uganda, and when we landed in Uganda, we had to get in this little bus and travel, I think it was 6 to 8 hours into the mountains. And we were on a mission here on our trip to Africa though. Almost flew away. We were on a mission here on our trip to Africa. The mission was that we were gonna visit these small coffee producers because they were building a lab. Atlas was building a lab on site in this cooperative called the Bukanzo Joint, and they were helping them improve their quality. So they were gonna go give them some lectures on how they can improve their quality so they can get better pricing and make a better living. So the mission was simple, but it was so much fun. I mean, we arrived to this small community in the mountains where they produce coffee. Now, you would think that each person had a lot of coffee plants, but no, it was different. Each family was a small shareholder of coffee plants. Each family had between 10 to 50 coffee plants. So only 10 to 50 coffee plants. Can you imagine that? That is tiny. You can probably plant those in your backyard. And to make a living off of that, that is incredibly difficult. But nevertheless, this family, each family had 10 to 50 coffee plants, and they all would get together and fill containers of coffee. That just showed the power of being united and combining all your forces together. So these communities will take 10 plants, 20 plants, 30 plants. Before you know it, there were so many people participating in this that you could fill containers and ship them to the United States. And what I learned from these communities here, that there's a sense of family, and they were so united. I never saw anything like it. Let me show you guys and explain a little bit. So the community there, Bukazo Joint, they can't read or write. So in order to express their goals and jot down ideas, they would do drawings. So the purpose of coffee, they wanted to produce really good coffee to get better pricing and get more monies for their family. And the way they would do it is they would hold these community meetings, and they would put a paper up on the wall, a blank paper, and then they would break that paper out into 4 sections. So if you would think about like four quarters. So they have 1, 2, 3, 4. So they would have these 4 quarters broken down, and they would look at the quarters and they would draw where they were at. They wouldn't write anything. Like you see these numbers on here, they wouldn't even be on there. They would be, okay, quarter 1, we're starting with a total of 50 plants. But one of the goals that we want to do is get up to 300 plants. So they would draw out 50 plants, and then at the end, they would draw 300 plants. So they would come in and start doing these drawings, and in between there, they would do a drawing on how they're gonna get there. So maybe they got 50 plants the quarter of this year starting, but the next quarter they're gonna plant more, 20 more, 30 more, 40 more, 50 more, until they got to their end project. Potentially, sometimes they needed to fix their housing, so they would draw a house, and then at the end, they would draw what needs to be fixed. So through this visualization of drawings, the community would agree upon these plans, and then they were able to act together to get there. It was amazing to see. The people were so beautiful. I had such an incredible experience. I got to just really witness what it is to be united, and how coffee done correctly can have such a beautiful impact, Rip. And that was how I ended up winning a trip to Africa, and that was my experience. This just blew my mind, winning that trip. It's just amazing that it goes to show that when you have a thought or you think about something, that you should really just go with your gut feeling and give it a try. Because the worst that could happen is you can end up right where you started, and then with a new perspective. Well, yeah, I wanted to share that with you guys, because that story has always been on my mind. It's an experience that shaped me, because after going to Africa and getting bit by the coffee bug, falling in love with coffee, that's after when the things started to set in motion. I quit my job and I moved to Nicaragua to rebuild my family's farm, and really got into coffee 100%. I'm only in like a year now, or year 2, and I'm still an amateur. I'm getting to learn the process. But experiences like that really shape and just open your eyes and give you such education that you can't really buy anywhere. That story is amazing, and hopefully you enjoyed it. Comment below, like, what do you think about that story? It's just beautiful to see how coffee can impact such a journey. Now, going back to more personal stuff, I'm still here in California. I'll be traveling back to Nicaragua in a few weeks. The baby was born, so we do have a baby boy now, and I'm gonna show him to you later on in the videos as he grows a little older. but it's been tiring raising a baby. I haven't been able to publish much videos, but we're gonna get back on that grind. I wanna say thank you for everyone that's been joining the channel. The channel keeps on growing, and I have so many ideas once I get back to origin, back to Nicaragua, of videos that I want to share with you guys and keep showing you that beautiful country and keep showing you what goes on behind a cup of coffee. So if you enjoyed the story, give it a thumbs up, comment below. Let me know if you have any video ideas that you would like to see about Nicaragua or coffee. I'm always reading them, and I'm still working on a couple other projects on the sideline. I'll see you guys in the next video. Subscribe, like, and share. Hasta luego, mi amigos.